Okay, if there's no more on that, we'll move on to the budget. You want to walk us?
I have a question on the budget.
Sure.
First thing, this is the 07-08 that was not right, that we approved. And these, Dennis, are your figures from who overpaid and who underpaid?
07 was wrong, right?
Right.
07, 08. Last year we approved 08, 09, but we got it straightened out, right?
So, at that time,
And we're working on
we
9,
talked
10
about we
right
couldn't
now,
go
right?
back and change anything, but we would work this into the new budgets to make everybody equal. Because Barb Powell was here that night and she said if you've overpaid, we'll make it right. And I think Earl Hardesty meant that we can't go back and do anything with the budget that had been done, but you can adjust your future budgets.
To compensate?
Yeah.
I thought we agreed after it's been approved, we couldn't.
How would we do that?
No, we couldn't do anything with the approved budget, but we could go into the future and adjust that.
Well, I don't know how much this plays into the meeting we had several months ago, but my understanding, and this kind of rolls into that insurance conversation, or that interest conversation too, is that with what we discovered with the insurance issue from past budgets, I think the decision basically is that we would move forward, not particularly look to the past. And, but that was my understanding of what the agreement was at that time, so the,
That's kind of what I thought.
yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, because I don't know how we could adjust for it. I mean, I don't even remember without looking at them how far they were off.
Well, the only ones that didn't pay enough, which they aren't paying anyway, is Wall Lake got by with half of what they should have paid, and Douglas was roughly 800 short. Jackson and
Had overpaid.
Cedar and Coon Valley and Sac City all overpaid.
Yeah, my point is, I mean, the only way you could adjust for it is those two would have to pay more.
And they're already not paying.
They're already not paying, and probably, I don't know if there's room in their levy.
But didn't I, if I remember right, at the time we talked about this, wasn't there some conversation about that instead of trying to adjust it, just the people that were short would take the money that they got by not paying because it wasn't right, and we would just put that in the capital improvement? If they were willing to do that.
The ones that didn't pay their share,
Walleye.
which is Walleye.
Yeah, the ones that overpaid, what was overpaid would just go into the capital improvement anyway, so the ones that underpaid would try and make that up and it would go into the capital improvement.
Why did they overpay? They were sent a bill for so much?
Well,
The budget, the figures in the budget that we approved were calculated wrong,
Oh, okay, okay.
which we didn't catch at the time.
Yeah, I see now.
And according to Earl, once we approved that budget, we couldn't go back
No.
and amend
couldn't
it
do
or
anything
correct
with
it.
that
Make it
budget.
extra,
Forget what happened.
But that's a thought. I mean, if we just want to say tough luck, or if we want to try and,
I thought you were just gonna do what's history's history and do it right from here
That
on
was
out.
kind of my understanding
I
too.
think so, I
guess
think
as
that's
far
what
as-
we talked about.
I think we all admit that in the past, that the funding sources have not been managed well. And that everywhere, every foxhole, if you remember, every foxhole we go down, we find a problem with it. And it's almost scary to look down. And it looks like there's enough problems in everybody's history that it might be just beneficial for us to say that the past is the past, and we need to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes again.
all right.
Yeah, I'd have, okay. So then,
my question for the budget really falls to them first and foremost before we, because if you look, the year over year really did not change that much. Last year, our budget was this year, I guess I said, the budget was set for $33,450, and this year's budget is $33,750. So there's only a $300 increase to the actual fire budget. There is more of an increase than that because of the fact that your debt service limit, our debt service last year was $14,527, and our allotment payment this year to the debt service is $15,088. It changes a little bit each year.
Right.
And then, so that's where the little other discrepancy comes. The other numbers for the most part are the same, the capital side.
Where did we, I guess it's interesting to me that, oh, CIP.
Don't get those confused.
Well, my point is, where did they cut so much when we had an 8,000 increase in insurance? What did we cut to get that 8,000 back?
Well, what happened, if you remember, is one of the things we identified, is that what the city was doing is that they were insuring and averaging it over all the vehicles.
Right.
They lowered your number because they were averaging it out over all of the vehicles.
So for the next year, it's 19,000 instead of...
It goes up to compensate for the fact that now it is actually applying the fire vehicle insurance to the fire budget.
True. I see that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that
My
was your
point was, with that kind of an increase, how did we manage to only have a $700 change in the total budget, or $300 change?
Well, you'll see that there are some dramatic changes throughout the lower portion of the budget. For instance, maintenance this year is at $600, and we are proposing a $250. The way we did that is if you look at what they actually used in the 06-07 and in the 07-08 and what they've actually used so far this year, we would hope, and of course this is purely something that we need input from Jack and his team on, is whether or not that's an acceptable number for next year. You'll see that what we did with truck repairs. Truck repairs currently is at $2,750 and we moved it to $2,500. That's based upon the fact of that is less than what they used in 07-08, but if you look at what they've actually spent up to this point this year, it would be in line with roughly what they spent. It is cutting it pretty thin.
Yeah,
We
that
know
truck
that.
repair is we're gonna go over budget this year, because we got 2 trucks that are costing us a lot of money.
The next line item, and you can see, our method of our madness is anywhere we cut, we tried to look at what the actual numbers had been for the last couple of years and identify whether or not we could actually cut in those areas. One area where you see a significant increase is in miscellaneous. The reason why miscellaneous is increased is, one, it creates a little bit more flexibility so that the money we need for the purposes of paying for these physicals are available in a fund that's a little bit more, it's a little softer on how we can use it.
And the CIP is...
That's capital improvement. That would be coming out of your long-term capital fund. Jack has some ideas on some money you can spend there if he wants to talk about it.
Well, we did, okay, we spent $5,300 out of the CIP.
We
Or approved that.
approved that,
We
and you
spent
spent $20,244. You can probably guess what that $20,244 is. That's your rough payment.
That's
Is
right.
that
Now,
what the rough key
Yeah.
is?
Yeah.
See, you got to remember, my numbers here are more accurate than the numbers you'll see on your itemized. Because it takes longer to do an itemized than it does for me to do my roll-up numbers.
Okay, so the 5,300 we had approved, was that, what did we plan on that for in the original budget? Was that for roof, or was that, year before, that 5,000 probably covered heaters, huh?
Yeah.
What was the 5,300 that we were planning on for in 08, 09? I don't remember.
I don't either. Was it your infrared?
I think that was the year before.
Because we're on our second winter
Mhm.
right now with radiant heat.
I don't know what the 5,300, anyway. Okay, and this year then you have...
Well, didn't we just roll everything over?